Hello, beginning band percussion. This video is for you. This is a walkthrough on our ensemble recording project. This is a separate video than the others because you have some things that you're doing that are unlike the other groups. So I'm going to walk you through that, and then I'm going to show you a few possibilities if you're playing an instrument or we're assigned an instrument that you don't have at home. Okay? So we'll go from there. First thing, this is our e-learning page, just like anything else. So the ensemble help videos are still here. So to get through that little help video, there's the percussion showcase bass. Here's the percussion showcase snare and bells. So you just click on one of them, and you can see they're all together. So here's the bells, here's the snare, here's the bass. Okay, and then they're just at the bottom of the page. You can scroll up. All right, so you can still use those to kind of go through my walkthrough. I think down here, if I'm looking correctly, I kind of showed some things. That's kind of what I'm going to do in a couple minutes here. All right, so our goal is to record each ensemble, record the separate parts, and then I'm going to put them together and hopefully present them as a mini concert for you and your parents, okay? So I've created a completely separate ensemble recording page to keep everything all in one place. Click there. You can also get to it by going to the home, e-learning, beginning band. You see it pops right up there. Okay, so here's our recording project page. The first thing you're going to do is record your parts listening to my guide track and submit it via Seesaw. I'm going to do that in a separate video, just like Itsy Bitsy Spider, except just a little bit longer. The ensembles are going to be 70 beats a minute, and I want you to do your best. Remember, it does not need to be perfect, all right? You can always go back and re-record, and if you're recording and it's like you're close and you're just getting frustrated because it's not what you want, stop, take a break, come back to it at another time, okay? All right, so first of all, here's the music copies. In case you don't have yours, here's your percussion showcase. We are not going to do, well, I guess you probably could. On the guide track, I don't have the buzz strokes here. It just goes tap because they sound really bad off the computer. We'll go from there. So I've split it into two parts. The first two lines, right, are right here. Unfortunately, I didn't put the measure numbers. Measure 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the measure number 5, 6, 7, 8. You might want to write those measure numbers in. You can also, if you're on the bell line, highlight the line, or if you're on the snare line, snare, it goes from there. So this is section 1, all right? And then down here is section 2. Now, there's some things like playing on the rim or whatnot. We can kind of fluff this a little bit. We don't necessarily have snare drums at home. I'm pretty sure most of you don't have a bass drum. We don't have cymbals, and I'm going to kind of give you some options on that. Sounds are sounds. I'm more interested in you getting the rhythms. Really, the only ones that are going to have the right instrument per se is going to be the bells, playing on either bells or xylo. Okay, so that's that. If you can't remember what part you were playing, click here. Scroll down to Wednesday. Krina Alexa bells, Lucy Reagan on the snare part, the triangle, the tambourine, cymbals, which are on the snare line. I think, Austin, you're on a tambourine. We could probably find something different unless you happen to have a toy tambourine at home. Caitlin, you're on a metal cymbal part. I'm going to show you guys something you can use. L, you are on the tom-toms using a bass drum. I'm going to show you a couple things you could do. Sammy, you're on the bass drum. Same thing with L, all right? So we'll go from there. That's coming up after I finish this part. All right, so how do we do this? Well, we get our music, practice up the part. You can practice it with that video, or scroll down here. Where's the percussion? Here's the first section, the first 8 measures. Here's the second section, this last 8 measures. Now what I've done is I've included on my guide track all the parts. All right, so here's section 1. Oop, I will have to redo that. Section 2. All right, I have put the wrong links in here, so I'll fix that. So what it should do is it should come up with an audio track like that. All right, so I'll fix that for you so you can hear the audio and going. So what can you do if you don't have the right instrument? Well, that's coming up. All right, so what do you do if you don't have the instrument that you have? Well, we're going to improvise. How's that sound? I'm pretty flexible, as you should be, with whatever you have. So your practice pad will work fine on that. You can experiment with some different things to get a sound. A couple of you might have a snare drum at home. If you have a snare drum, then go ahead, use the snare drum. You're going to find that it records a little differently, so be careful of the sound. What about bass drum or tom-toms? This is for Sammy and Elle. One thing I found that works really well, I'm going to back up here a little bit, is a bucket. Now, for the tom-tom part, what we've done in the past at school, Elle, we have different size tom-toms to get different sounds. So if you want to find a couple different size buckets and then kind of go between those different size buckets, that's fine. If you want to use this is a small, this is like an icing bucket from the store. So what I did is I didn't want that hard tappy sound, so I took a paper towel, folded it over. This is like just one of those small, third size paper towels. I wrapped it over a couple times, wrapped it around, and just wrapped it with a rubber band. You could just put a bunch of rubber bands around too. That just takes a while, but this works really well. All right, it's not going to last a long time, but for what you need it to do, that's it. So you can kind of hold it. If this is rattling, either tape it down or kind of hold it out of the way, and so you can get a couple different sounds just by hitting it like in the middle versus out here. Yeah, sounds good. So, yeah, like that. One of my favorite sounds, Sammy, this is maybe more for you, like a Home Depot bucket or a bucket from Menards or Lowe's, or a big, 3-gallon, 5-gallon bucket like this. All right, that gives a nice low sound as you go. You put it between your legs or set it on something. Yeah, kind of like this. Pretty good bass drum sound, because you probably don't have a bass drum at home. We'll go from there. All right. What about for the people who have like the cymbal? I can't remember, Austin, and I can't remember Caitlin, I think, right? So anything metallic. All right. Now I'm going to use a couple objects I had here. I've tried a couple pan lids, and they kind of work a little bit. Before you use anything like a pot or a pan, or I'm going to show you a couple wrenches here, ask your parents. Do not go using your mom or dad's wrenches or pots or pans before you ask them, because you're going to be banging on them and you don't want to damage, especially if it's a nice pan. Or so I have a bunch of old ones I use for camping and whatnot, so tapping on those are not that big a deal. But if I used my wife's good pan for that, she would come after me with a stick. All right, so you don't want to do that. So make sure you ask your parents' permission before you use anything. All right, so a couple things that I found that make a really good metallic sound, kind of like a triangle, is a wrench. Now this is a really, really big one. This is more for comedy than anything. But how do you hit it? I just use a regular Phillips screwdriver. All right, you could might have a piece of metal there, but the screwdriver works good. It has a handle. Again, ask your folks. All right, so you hit it, a couple different sounds. That actually sounds pretty good. You can hit it on the flat end, you can hit it on the side. Now I just used a little string. Now with a bigger wrench like this, I mean, this thing's heavy. This is a little over a pound, right? Maybe like 2.5 pounds. I just tied a little thicker string around it, and it still has pretty good ring. The smaller wrenches, which have higher sounds, won't ring as good. Now, if your mom or dad fishes and they have fishing line at home, fishing line actually works really good. Just make a loop out of it. This isn't fishing line. This is like some kite string. So here's a medium-sized wrench. That's a pretty good sound. If you use too heavy a string, it'll deaden the sound. It'll kind of make it more sound like that. Ooh, that's a good one. Hitting it on the flat side. You kind of have to kind of hold it a little bit. It's going to be a little awkward until you kind of get used to it. And then, here's a real small one I have. It all depends on what sound you want. And I can be very flexible. If I don't like the sound, I'll let you know. But I think you guys can say, hey, that's pleasant. That's not bad. Very light and delicate sound. All right, so those are a couple options going through. I don't think I have anything else here that I would really want to do. I would not recommend doing this. These are one of the bowls I made, but something like that. Again, before you go banging on anything, especially if it's breakable, all right, make sure you ask permission and be very, very careful with that. If you have any questions about it or you have an idea, get a hold of me. We can get on FaceTime here or a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet, and we can go over some sounds. All right, good luck.